Brook Lopez could be a player they keep a close eye on. I guess you're basically looking at two players that are looking in regards to two teams that are looking at Brook Lopez, the Houston Rockets and the Los Angeles Lakers. Per Jake Fisher, the Lakers have long been fans of Lopez as he prepares to become a free agent this summer. It's not the first time we've heard Brook Lopez's name. Let me kind of just give you my quick opinion and thoughts on Brook Lopez. I want to do the same thing for Clint Capela, and I want to do the same thing for Lonzo Ball. So I'm going to kind of hit on all three of these guys here real quick. Real quick on Brook Lopez. The things I like about Brook Lopez. Okay. Brook Lopez can spread the floor for you. Brook Lopez is a vet's vet. He's been in the league for a long time, and he's not expected to come back to Milwaukee. He can hit threes for you. He understands the game. Brook Lopez is not somebody that just, started in the league yesterday. He's a high IQ player. He'd be able to fit in on a Lakers team just based off of those characteristics alone. Some of my concerns with Brook Lopez. I think he's 37 now. Brook Lopez is definitely not going to be the type of player where you look at Luka and his skill set and say, okay, hey, I love this. I love that. He's not going to be your pick and roll guy. He's not going to be a real lob threat, any of that stuff. Really what Brook Lopez is going to be is probably out of the way, but still have size. So on the defensive side, you can have a big man that's at least sitting in the middle, which the Lakers obviously didn't have in this past playoff run. So Brook Lopez could be a player that the Lakers are keeping an eye on. Okay, just using that as an example. We'll kind of, again, let me kind of just list these here real quick because I do think some of these players, some of them offer different things. They don't all offer the same thing, and these are the types of players that the Lakers might have to be going after. Anthony Irwin put something out, I think it was yesterday, in regards to Clint Capela. League sources anticipate yet another tough market for free agents this summer, but it's not so dry that Steven Adams will be available to the Lakers, let alone Miles Turner or Naz Reid, even though I think we all agree Miles Turner and Naz Reid are not coming to the Lakers. Clint Capela is considered within reach at $5.7 million, and as such is expected to sit pretty high on the Lakers' target board. If I had to make, by the way, Clint Capela, 31 years old, so a lot younger, is more accustomed to being that player that is a pick and roll guy, a little bit more of a lob threat. Obviously, he's not going to be the same player that he was before. I think there's a ton of value in Clint Capela at that $5.7 million veterans minimum, or I forget the exact term of it. I think there's a lot of value in that $5.7 million. I do. I do think that some of the options that the Lakers have, and by the way, if you got a Clint Capela at the 5.7, now you're still trying to go get maybe a guy like Jackson Hayes to just be a backup center, and that's all you're really looking for. It's just, can you get size? Can you try to put together a few of these pieces that you didn't have during the regular season and clearly didn't have in the playoffs once you traded for Anthony Davis? But Clint Capela is another name that's being thrown out there as a potential high on the Lakers list. Guys, these are the type of players that the Lakers are probably going to be associated with. The only other way, by the way, I still think, even if they're going to go out there and make a trade, if you can use that 5.7 on a Clint Capela, I'm okay with that. Even if you go out there and decide, no, we're going to go out and make the type of trade that we think we need because there is a big man available. I'm going to use an example, Mark Williams type of player. I still think there's a lot of value in Clint Capela at 5.7. Now, if you went and traded for a big man, are you using your 5.7 on Clint Capela, or are you trying to use that somewhere else? They're probably going to try to look somewhere else if they can fill that void. But I think there's value at 5.7. And that's just the best thing that I could say. I think that there's value in Clint Capela of what he brings to the table in regards to that. And I think he's probably as close of a player as you're going to get to the type of player Luka plays well with, even though he's 31, even though he's no longer in his prime, even though he's not the same player as he was in the past. But if you're getting it at that value, I think there's value there. So let me stop at those two players before I get to Lonzo, only because I'm curious to see, what people think in regards to that. I think this is where I lean with as well in regards to, if I had to pick between these two players, hypothetically as an example, I'd rather target Clint Capela than Brook Lopez personally. I think the idea, and again, these are short-term fixes. There's nothing here that I'm talking about. This is not, one of those, Lakers are set if they get this guy. They're going to need to address the center position for long term. And whether that's in this summer or that's next summer or whatever the case is, that's going to be something that they're going to have to address. I don't think they're going to be able to address it long term now, unless they go out there and make some type of a trade that includes some of the assets that they have and some of these expiring contracts. And if they're able to do so, awesome. If they're able to, I'm just using as an example some of the names that we've heard out there before. If they were able to get Jared Allen, or they were able to get Daniel Gafford, or they were able to get Nick Claxton, and they did it off of a trade, and it was expiring contracts, and it was picks, and it was Dalton Connect, okay, awesome. Then they should go do that. But they're going to have challenges where, in this case with Clint Capela or potentially Brook Lopez, you could potentially just sign a player and not have to worry about that, and then use that $5.7 million that I'm talking about. Okay, let's take a look at a few of these here. Let's see what we got here. Let me see what we got here. I want Claxton or Kessler. We were talking yesterday, and me and Jovan, and what Jovan kind of kept going back to is the asking price for the Utah Jazz for Walker Kessler. The Lakers just don't have the assets to go get him. Even if they thought, hey, we want him, that's the guy that we want. There's our rim protector. There's our lob threat. There's our defender. He's at the right age. They don't have the assets to go get him. So if Walker Kessler gets traded, he's probably going to get traded somewhere where a team just had more assets and the Lakers didn't have it. This is not going to be, I think, one of those things where, Rob Pelinka got worried at the end. Oh my God, I'm giving up too many assets. I don't think that. I think it's actually going to come down to they just don't have the assets to go make it happen. So a couple reports out there. Lakers will have some interest in Brook Lopez. They might be able to get a guy like Clint Capela at that 5.7, which I think there's a lot of value there. Yeah. When you hear names like that, what comes to your mind that it's those types of players, right? You don't have to tell me which player you like more or anything like that, but what kind of runs through your mind when you see names like that?
Solid, not probably what we're looking for. Probably looking to swing the fences a little bit higher. Obviously, Miles Turner with them in the finals probably off the board, but Lively would be fantastic. I don't think the Mavs probably going to be dealing with the Lakers anytime soon.
So what happened?
Or maybe Nico doesn't care. Maybe he'll trade the first overall pick. Who knows what that would go to that guy.
I will tell you, whatever they were thinking before, the fact that they got and will draft Cooper Flagg, the taste has got to be a lot, different than it was 6 months ago or so.
Oh yeah. But imagine if you had, I got to argue with someone about this. Imagine if you had paired Luka and Cooper Flagg, not two older injury prone players, but that's a story for another day. That's, who knows?
Well, here's, I guess, the question you'd have to ask, because I'm just going to assume if Luka stayed there, they're in the playoffs and they don't have a lottery pick. So I'm just going to assume that, right? So unless, Luka was injured the entire time or whatever the case is, if they just didn't make the playoffs, but primarily the only reason why they got that pick is because they didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, and they were all injured with Kyrie and them. The center spot, yeah, it's odd because you need someone. I don't know, like Brook Lopez is great, a good player. Clint Capela is great. I don't think that really moves the needle in terms of, wow, this team is scary. It would be great to have a guy like that coming off the bench. I know Jackson A is probably the most reliable option off the bench, or probably what's going to happen because of the contract. You need a legit star center. Or if you're going to go that route, if you're going to go with the Brook Lopez's or the Clint Capelas and not really swing for the fences, I need the Lakers sign like 3 centers at low cost, but so you constantly have size, because going into it with one center next year, if they get hurt, we're going to see the same thing over and over again, and they better be an elite big. I don't think that totally moves the needle, but I guess if you get to keep Austin Reeves, you get to keep most of the team, and you're just kind of working around the edges. That could be interesting too, and wait for the trade deadline.
What's funny is, for them, it's how do I put this? They literally had nothing depth wise, so getting anybody I think will help them. But I don't think getting anybody is going to all of a sudden be the difference of, hey, watch out, that squad's going to be in the Western. They're the favorites or something along those lines. We'll see what they do in that spot. We'll see what they do in that position. I think if you can sign, just hypothetically speaking, if you're able, I think there is value in 5.7 if you're able to get Clint Capela at 5.7. I really
Capella's more interesting than Lopez in my opinion.
I agree because at least he can be, he's the style of play he plays is technically what Luka likes, but he is 31. He's not the same player that he was. And I think we'd be crazy to think that he is. But I think if you can get value from that perspective and you still have all the Ruiz of the world and the Dalton Connects of the world and the draft pick and Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber and expiring contracts, then maybe you could still go out there and try to get, obviously different ways to improve the roster. But if you can find some value, then go try to take advantage of that value.
Into that, I think this roster is really talented, and it'd be interesting to see what this team last year would have done had they literally had a center. I mean, it just to not have someone over 7 foot and it only being Jackson Hayes, and Jackson Hayes played awful in that series, and you could tell the Timberwolves really figured out the fact that Hayes can't shoot, so we're just going to take away the lob threat, and he was a non-factor on the floor. If you're not going to go with the big star center, I'm kind of more in the ilk of the 2020 team where you got McGee. You got a lot of guys that you're throwing in there, 3 or 4 bigs who maybe are on less salary or not quite as good. You don't have a standout number one player.
But you always have an answer of we have size. All right, thank you very much for watching the clip. Just want to give a shout out here to one of our partners, the Wallace Firm. They are official injury attorney of the Sliwa Show and Hoops Talk, the entire channel. If you are ever in a need, and I hope you're not, but some type of serious injury with yourself or a family member of yours, I would like to personally help you by introducing you to the best in the business, Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Also got a URL out here that you can use as well. Just go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Thank you for their partnership, and thank you for being a part of the Sliwa Show.